and stuff like that. Sometimes we just need to let people be and let them show up the way that they are. And the moment that you let them do that, they have permission to be their whole selves. A healing happens inside of them, and then they can begin that process of reconnecting to who they really are, of believing those things that God actually says about them. But we think that we're the answer, but we all meant to just point people back to God.
Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of the Clinician's Table. I am your co-host. I'm your co-host, Gerina today. It's table. It's Clinician's Table.
Oh,
You didn't say your name.
I'm Tabitha. Azor. That's my last name.
Great. I was like, they don't know your last name. And so the last episode we talked about compartmentalizing and how that can hurt us in so many ways. And then it just took us on a beautiful journey and talking about how disappointed we are with church overall. And how compartmentalizing can hurt you. And so now we're going to talk about what it means to be whole, because overall we're talking about freedom, right? And so compartmentalizing takes us away from freedom, and wholeness is where freedom lives. And so my first question is, what would happen if we finally bring our whole selves to the table?
You want the what would actually happen, or what could happen that is positive that we would experience over time? Or do you want the initial thing?
I love that question. I'm going to take out the could and the shoulds and what happens when we bring our full selves to the table.
Well, when we bring our full selves to the table, in the current state that things are, it will all crumble down.
Dang.
It will.
Well, what will all crumble down? Like society, all of the church,
systems,
all the systems.
All of the systems that we have in place, they would just crumble. That's what I believe. Do you agree with that?
Well, okay. I do. I do believe that they will crumble, but I think there will be a war at first.
Say more.
So if we think about systems theory, if a system is operating, let's say a system is operating counterclockwise, right? And something in that system, whatever part of that system is like, wait, something is wrong with this, and it starts to operate clockwise, it is pushing against a system that's going this way. And what happens is this system is going to continue trying to force this thing to go this way. And if this thing is strong enough to push back, there's going to be tension and war. And I think when you say collapse, maybe that's where it happens, where the whole thing kind of either shuts down or gets in line. But because we live in the society we live in, it most likely will cause tension. There will be a war and it will collapse. So I do agree with you.
And then the rebuilding can happen.
Then the rebuilding can happen.
Sometimes that's necessary.
Yeah.
For things to change, you have to be willing to let it kind of like let the old system go.
Yeah.
So that then you can welcome the new thing that's coming in. So maybe that's what needs to happen for right now, so that people can feel like they can show up as their whole selves in churches, in friendship circles, and wherever that it is that we have to show up in.
Okay. So then let's take that and say, so then what would happen if someone were to show up to church as their full self? What would happen?
My brain does not want to imagine that.
I have a story.
The automatic reaction that I got is that, oh, it's not safe.
Wow.
I can't do that.
That's unfortunate.
Because there is a certain expectation. And the thing is, we don't realize that these are things that have been passed down from generation to generation. So at this point, it's beginning to be written in your DNA. Like to the point where it's like, this is what we do. And this is what it is. So to think, even about like somebody feeling enough freedom to just show up as they are instead of just saying come as you are, you can actually do it. Man.
I think I have a story, a real story. I went to go visit a church in Harlem a year or 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. And I was connecting with two other women that went to another church that I used to go to because I was a season of church hopping. And she was emotionally dysregulated.
Mm,
She was going through a lot of hardship and pain, and it was overwhelming her system, and it was like almost like a meltdown. And the only thing that she can do is like yell and scream in order to
mhm,
get it out of her body to the pastor. Like, I
mhm,
need to talk to this person. She was like, I need to talk to the pastor. Like, I
mhm,
need to talk to this person. Like, I need to do that. And she's like walking and she's mad and she's like yelling and screaming and all of that. And so, like, some of the leaders of the church, because it was a diverse church, so some of the leaders of the church who were not Black, they were kinda like, what's happening?" But they didn't say, "Excuse me, miss, you can't act like this here,"
mhm.
or, "You need to watch your language," because she was also cursing. Instead, they got the pastor and was like,
Okay.
"This is an emergency, this
Okay.
person wants to see you." So the pastor came and stood there and was like, "What's going on?" And she shared, like, "I'm so effing pissed off," and like she was going off. And in that moment, I I stepped outside of it and just like was watching what was going on. And I was so proud of that pastor
Mhm,
and that church for not tr- treating her like an outsider, for not trying to quiet her down, to not
mhm,
try to hide her, not try to
mhm,
usher her.
mhm.
Instead, it was like we were standing around her and he was like, "How can I support you? What's
Right.
going on?" And so with time, she eventually kind of simmered down just a little bit. And he was like, "Can I pray for you? Do you have a therapist? Um, do you need support in finding another therapist, or finding or meeting a therapist before you meet with your therapist? We'll help you out financially. We'll help you." Like, he was like, "I'm here and I'm going to stand here and support
You
you and
figure
hold
it out.
space for you. And then I'm going to pray for you. And not only am I going to pray for you, I'm then going to ask, what does this look like? Like, how
Mhm,
do I support you doing that?" And even she was like, "Oh, that was really good. Thank you." Because
mhm,
she's also in the mental health
mhm,
realm too. And she said that she was like, "I know that this looks crazy because I'm a minister
mhm.
and I understand mental health and I'm in this sector and I'm like acting like this, but this is really effed up. Like, all these things are happening to me and it's heartbreaking and it's
Right,
sad."
right.
And I was like, man, the level of things that she had to go through in order to even show up like that, right? Knowing that she's a minister, she's
Mhm,
known or whatever,
mhm.
and to show up that way must show that she was really under duress.
Right, right.
But I wonder how freeing that was for her to have another pastor and minister of a popular church be able to hold space with her, as well as her brothers and sisters in Christ, and be there for her. And we went out to brunch later, and she said that that was like a very helpful, healing experience for
Mhm,
her. And I was like, I was so impressed with this church. I was like, if I needed to make a decision about being a part of this church, this would win me over.
mhm,
And so, to answer that question, I think that when people show up to the table as their full selves and what they're going through, it gives certain people the opportunity to show up the way that we're called to show up, as well as it also presents the opportunity for unsafety to happen.
right.
But we get to see that happening and say, that's something's not right with that, and that's wrong. And we should say that that's wrong because the way you treated this person wasn't right. But what you did was beautiful, and let's uplift that and let's do that more. And how do we support as a church system?
And if people got more opportunities to see
Mhm.
that there's an alternative, there's
Mhm.
something else that can happen if I show up in this way as my full self,
Mhm.
I think there would be more freedom for people to actually show up as their whole selves and show up as their full selves
Mhm.
in situations. But most of the time, and this is something that's like a reality, a lot of the leaders are burned out.
Yeah.
And because we are burned out, then we will pour from the capacity that we have. And the hushing and pushing is in a way to try to regulate things
Mhm.
where all we need to do is show all he did was right? All he did was show up and witness.
He literally just
Listen to her, made space, how can I support you? And that's about it. But sometimes we think there's more that is needed on our end than just like showing up for people. I think actually showing and showing people that there's another way to deal with things. And I love that it happened in the open, because all of this was happening in the open. Nobody, if you took her into a room, nobody could hear or see what it is that you were doing to deal with it. And that probably gave other people permission to show up in these spaces in that same way, if they ever
if
were
they
going
ever
to
like
do
if I
that.
feel duress, I know that I can
Mhm.
come to this space, and if even if I don't show up in this way
Right.
in this public space, I know that I can go to this leader, or I know I can come to this space and I'm not going to be shunned and pushed
Mhm.
away, because I've gone to other spaces where I've seen people a woman be handled like a dog and
Mm.
be roughed up and pushed outside of the church
Wow, wow,
physically.
wow.
And I don't think I realized how that negatively impacted me,
Mhm.
where it's like now I see that if I don't show up a certain way, I can physically
Mhm.
be picked up roughly and pushed out of a church that I considered my home.
Right, right.
And I think that stayed in the back of my head, seeing something like that. And I'm sure other people that was in that space and saw that probably was like, oh, I shouldn't say these things, you
Mhm.
know? Um, and it's just really sad. And so when I think about when we're talking about freedom and we talked about compartmentalizing in the last one, and then we're talking about what does it mean to fully show up, what I'm hearing now is that sometimes we have to fight for our freedom in certain spaces. And I can imagine that being very intimidating, overwhelming,
Most
and
people are too
discouraging.
tired to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't go to church expecting that you're gonna go to war against systems and things. You go to church expecting freedom, expecting a relief,
But do
expecting.
people expect that anymore? I don't think people expect that
Oh, I do.
anymore. Well, you do because 'cause we're in different spaces.
I mean, I'm sure there are some who do.
But I'm thinking overall, I don't think
You
people
don't
go
think people expect freedom from church? So what do
I
people
think
expect from church?
people have expected freedom from church, and that's why they experience the deep church hurt that caused them to leave, or have witnessed other people experience church hurt that hurt them, or some level of trauma.
Mhm.
And I mean, and trauma can fall into different categories and different things that can happen. I think people that got so used to it being like a tradition. Sundays
Mhm.
we go here and this is what we do and this
So
is
it's
how we do it. It
routine.
becomes a part of your routine. So I don't
Mhm.
think people are waking up. I don't think mm, I mean, like I said, the world is shifting, but I don't think like 40-45% of people are waking up saying, I'm going to go to church on Sunday and I'm going to be free.
Mm. Right.
I don't think that's the thought. I know I'll speak in the I
Mhm.
did not think, "Ooh, I'm going to church and I'm going to be free." If anything, it's like, "Ooh, I'm going to church and I'm going to see my friends. I'm going to go to church and I'm going to hear a good word because
Mhm.
the minister was good, right? Like I'm going to hear a good word, it's going to be good and we're going to talk about it." But as far as being free,
So should that be something that is expected
I
now?
think so. I think that should be an
Because
expectation.
what you expect, you find.
And because of that, I think I expected that when it comes to experiencing Yahweh in spaces that proclaim him. And
Mhm.
because of that, that's how I found my way to where I'm at
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
Right. And so um there's different pastors that we have there. And one of the pastors, Pastor Shauna, that I connected with very early, I was able to share things with her that I would have never shared with a leader of the church.
Mhm.
And I think there's times that I've had one-on-one with leaders in the church and we've had certain conversations where I shared more than what most people would. But I think in general, just my wholeness, I
Mhm.
was able to share with her. One, because she's a woman.
Mhm.
I will name that. But two, because she carries literally like she feels like she's like the embodiment of the Holy Spirit sometimes,
Mhm.
right? Like she's such a like Holy Spirit baby. And so I just felt safe.
Mhm.
And being a part of being connected with her and meeting with her like once a month and her checking in on me and being like my spiritual companion and being a part of this church healed hurts that I had that I didn't even know I had.
Mm.
And I'm
Wow.
like, "Oh, wow."
Yeah.
And being like so free and being so like, "Oh, wait, I get to be this part of me here too. Yay." I get to and I always knew that that's how it should be, and I knew, like I told you when I was younger, I was always whoever I was in every spaces, but there were certain parts of me that was tender that I felt like I did not feel safe
Mhm.
expressing,
Mhm.
whether it was a breakup or whatever. I didn't feel safe expressing them in certain spaces because
Right.
it's like, "You'll be fine,"
Mhm.
or "Don't talk about it." It'll make him look
It'll
bad or
feel
make
better
him feel
over
whatever.
time.
Yeah. And I'm like, "No, but I'm hurting."
Mhm.
And this person is in the congregation or this person is connected to your brotherhood and I don't have anyone to talk to because we gotta
Mhm.
shh, nah, nah. So when I feel so freedom to me is like what would happen if you bring your whole self to the table? I think there may be war, whether internally or not. There may be some pushback, there may be opportunity for more harm, or you actually will get met, like you said, what you seek is what you'll find. You'll meet some level of safety.
And I think to simplify it, the solution is to just be with people,
Mm,
right? We think we're going to church to be in the presence of God, right? The presence of other people. Sometimes words are not needed. Sometimes
mm,
solutions are not needed. Sometimes you don't need to have it figured out. That's why we have the Holy Spirit that gives words of wisdom and words of knowledge, that we know what to do in certain situations when we don't know what to do. Sometimes just being with someone,
mhm,
giving them an ear and saying, hey, like, it's okay for you to talk about this. It's okay if it comes out the wrong way because you are flooded with emotions right now, and we're now going to kind of like put rules on it, on how you should show up, because that's how it should sound, or that's how a Christian talks
mhm.
and stuff like that. Sometimes we just need to let people be and let them show up the way that they are, and the moment that you let them do that, they have permission to be their whole selves. A healing happens inside of them, and then they can begin that process of reconnecting to who they really are,
Yeah.
of believing those things that God actually says about them. But we think that we're the answer, but we all meant to just point people back to God
Mhm.
and to point them to the one who has the answers. And as therapists, it's the same thing. We point people back to God, to the one who has the answers
Well,
for
therapists
the
of
things.
faith.
Yes. Uh, to whatever it is that they
Yeah.
come into the room
Yeah.
with. So removing, and I'm saying this to remove the burden off of you, so that you feel like you need to know exactly what to do. But that's why we rely on the Holy Spirit in those moments. And all we need to do is pull up a chair and say, hey, like, let's sit here, let's sit on the floor. Tell me what's going on in your heart. Tell me what's been happening in your life, and actually listen to the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
healing.
No, it
Yeah.
is. No, it is healing. And you because I you said something this time and then it's something you said earlier where you talked about us as leaders that we're burnt out. And then you were saying that sometimes as leaders sometimes we put on the burden of trying to figure it out and we don't need to. And I was like, oh, well, I think what would happen if we showed up at the table as our full self is that leaders also get to be healed and they get to be human. I think we have deified
Mhm.
spiritual leadership,
Right, right.
and to the point where sometimes we idolize them and we put very faulty, unrealistic expectations
Right,
on them,
right.
and some of them walk into it
Mhm.
because one may make them feel good, or others walk into it because they really genuinely want to help. And I think that they want to help, but then they're still human and they're still dealing with their
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
And then feeling like, "Oh, I can't bring my full self to the table because you're looking at me in a particular way, and so I need to show up in this particular way." And now they're burning out with trying to compartmentalize aspects of themselves so that they can show up a certain way. And then we have stress and we have burnout. Um, and I think, like you said, what helps against that burnout is if that person also is like, I'm human too.
Right. And modeling. That's what Jesus
Modeling
did.
that. Yes.
That's what he did. He modeled it. It showed you that he, as a man, as a human being, he does this. He grieves, he feels his emotions, he had some anger and flipped some tables. He did he did all of those things to give us permission to feel, to give us permission to be human.
Mm-hmm.
So and we think as leaders sometimes that we have to show up, and I'm preaching for myself. We have to show up a certain way because that's what's going to cause people to trust what it is that we bring. But like I think it was Henry Nouwen who wrote the book, like
Mm-hmm.
The Wounded Healer.
Mm-hmm. 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 It was Henry.
Your
Yes.
scars as a leader are there, and sometimes you have to show people your open wounds. And I know not everybody can be able to handle it, but healing happens in community,
Yeah.
and that involves the leader too. So if I know that in your moment you were able to lean on me because I was stronger and I was able,
Mm-hmm.
then in my moments, then I'll feel, man, like this leader was there
Mm-hmm.
and showed me their wound. And I'm not saying like consistently put
Right.
yourself
Right.
on people who cannot handle it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying having a certain level of transparency to say, hey, like this is a really tough moment for
Yeah.
me. And for the church also to respond as, yeah, like we're here for you. We're gonna
Yeah.
hold you up
Yeah.
in this moment, right? Thinking about Moses and Moses being tired when the Israelites were fighting. Aaron and I believe, held his hands up. Why? Moses could have been like, "I got this. I'm the leader.
Mm-hmm.
I can I can hold my hands up, and make sure Israel wins this battle." But he's like, "No, I'm exhausted.
I'm
My
tired.
hands have been
And
up for
whenever
so
it fell,
long."
that's when Israel started
Right,
losing, and he needed those
right,
two men
right.
to hold him up, to prop him up.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's not our job as leaders to always be perfect and to always have things
Never
figured out.
perfection doesn't even exist,
But we
you
need
know?
to be vulnerable enough to say,
Mm.
hey, I'm not okay. I need you to hold me up right now. So that when you're not okay, you know that I'll be a safe space to hold you up.
So you bring up something because I can imagine people pushing back saying like, well, if I'm a pastor, I don't want to do that with a congregant. To say I need you to hold me up. And I don't think that's what you're saying, but I can imagine someone thinking that. And what I hear what you're trying to say is basically understand that we're all human in this
Mm-hmm.
space and we're just holding certain positions, and certain positions do come with certain responsibilities for
Right.
sure. I think that when pastors, deacons, elders, anyone of that space is able to say to one another,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not perfect, can
Yeah.
you support me, it cultivates a leadership of humility. It
Mm-hmm.
cultivates a leadership of safety and of some level of sustainability that's really healthy, where they're able to support one another and understand that we are not anything above anything or anyone.
Right.
And so we can support one another. And when you see a leadership system model that, it trickles down to the way
Mm-hmm.
they engage with us so
Right.
that we can do that with one another.
Right. Right.
And if you're lucky and you're close to certain leadership, they'll probably share aspects of their life where you see that they're just as
Mm-hmm.
human, right? And that could be healing in some ways too, where you're like, oh, you're imperfect too. Oh, this is
Mm-hmm.
great. Like,
Yeah.
yay. But
Yeah.
I can understand the fear of showing your imperfection and then feeling disqualified or invalidated as well. Because we see a lot of ministers who, well, that's a whole nother conversation. But in short, you see ministers who have gotten exposed for the things that they struggled with in secret come to
Mm-hmm.
the light,
Right.
right? And then they're demonized and all these other things. And I wonder what would have happened if this human was struggling and
Mm-hmm.
said something to someone who is safe and
Mm-hmm.
healthy
Mm-hmm.
and was held accountable, would this even have expanded to that,
Right.
right? And is there some level of pride where you want to hide in your sin, or not even sin, I'll say struggle, because sin,
Mm-hmm.
it gets used in too much, and that's messed up. But what I also wanted to say is that as therapists, um have you ever felt the need to show up in a particular way, or have you felt that in this point of life you're able to show up as your true self?
I don't know how to do anything else. Um, that's why I love ADP, which is the type of therapy that I do, because it's just what's required is just for you to be fully present with the client and make space for the experience that comes up, and you work with the experience. So I am who I am. I'm very secure in who I am. And I don't need anyone else to come and tell me who I am. So I don't feel like I need to perform. I don't take the expert role per se. You're the expert in your life. You teach me some things about what's going on internally for you, and based on the knowledge that I have, I'll throw some ideas at you, and then you take that, and it's a beautiful dance that happens between,
like an exchange.
Yes, that happens between me and the client, where we figure things out together. And if something doesn't work, we tweak it, and we work at it until we find something that lands. So I don't have to show up feeling like I'm this expert. I'm this person that knows everything, that should have the answers. Most of the time, I invite you to tell me the answers through the asking you the right questions. And it takes practice to do that. And it takes a certain level of knowing where I am within the like triangle, me, you, and God. What my role is to be a vessel, being a bridge between you and God, and what needs to happen, right? Or you and a part, or you and another family member, or whatever. So if I know where I'm supposed to be, then I'm not competing. I don't have to do all the extras. I can just show up, and just wait for the answer to actually come to me, as opposed to trying to conjure it up, or cause it to appear out of nowhere. So
You said that you work together with your clients. I was gonna say that I used to struggle with that, a feeling I needed to show up a particular way, and that caused more stress. But once I realized, like, I'm good at what I do, and so I'm just gonna show up as me, and you're gonna get one of these me's, but all of them is really me, like, then I got more confident in that. And then I do practice self-disclosure, not to take over the session, but to be relatable. And I
Right.
think that takes a particular skill. And I remember one of my clients was like, "Wait, you have a therapist?" I was like,
We
"Absolutely."
should do an episode on that, on
Having a therapist,
self-disclosure.
having self-disclosure, yeah. So with that, I'll just say, when thinking about freedom, we know that compartmentalizing is not freedom, even though it feels good. And I think that freedom is being holistic and bringing all of ourselves together, getting rid of perfectionism, getting rid of spiritual bypassing, and being able to fight that war of what it means to fight systems that want you to perform and behave. And so I just hope that as clinicians, as believers, whoever you are that is listening to this, that you will step into your freedom by being truly who you are in all spaces with discernment. And that we could continue going on this journey together. And so, with that, I'm your co host, Gerina today.
And I'm Tabitha as well.
And this was one of our other episodes of the Clinician's Table. And until next time, see you then.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Clinician's Table. For more conversations like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time.